Hey guys, this is Mubarak here of In Penny Stock. Hope you're doing well. In this episode, I want to talk to you guys about the importance and the significance of how to look at the best IPOs and how to trade them and how you should think about them. And so I'm going to be going through one of the ones that actually, if you're watching this is going to be IPOing today, Thursday, September 30th on the Canadian Stock Exchange. The ticker symbol is LUV, and the concept is pretty awesome. So I want to give you guys an example. Again, this is not investment advice, it's purely educational, but I want to show you guys how you can look at and trade these types of IPOs that occur. All right. And so, for successful investing, it requires a mixed strategy. So it's not only just pump and dumps that you'll be looking at or crypto, but IPOs are a very important part of the strategy overall to be a successful trader. And so I want to dive a little bit into LUV as an example for this company, Love Pharma, especially in the space it's in right now, the health and wellness space, the medical space, how these get pumped up and how this type of stock will work. So we'll go into a little bit about some of the important kind of qualitative and quantitative aspects of it. All right, because yes, there's a lot of my videos usually, as you guys are pretty familiar with, have to do with, say, the technical analysis portion, and that's still important, and that's required when you're looking at the stock chart and understanding the price and looking at where you think it falls within the general range of support and resistance. But when there's an IPO, you have to really pay attention because that does not have any prior stock chart, right? So you're literally trading on that same day or that same week. And so I want to kind of go into a little bit of the qualitative research you can do. And so some of that stuff requires looking into the financials of the stock. And so in this scenario, I actually have access to their investor presentation, which you can actually look up online and get access to by going to their website or so. And I'm going to go into a few of the important pieces of information that you should look into in order to, see whether or not a certain company stands out. All right. So the first part that I always kind of make sure of and understand is that, especially if say it's a penny stock, right? Not saying that LUV is, but in general, you always have to verify the credibility of their claims, right? So even as we're looking at these, this is a really cool pharmaceutical company that came out with some very interesting products. You have to just go onto their website and go on to look at the reviews and stuff. So take all of this with a grain of salt, and this is just exposure that I want to be able to show you what are the important pieces of information. But, in certain cases, the products aren't necessarily why a stock is going to shoot up. All right. So that's always something to keep in mind. Now, what you have to always kind of take a step back at and look at is this stock, is this IPO operating in a space that's going to be growing? All right. So, it's not like, say, a phone company or phone card company where, those are kind of getting outdated, or it's not a hardware company that might be outdated if it's not focusing on nanotechnology, right? So in this case, the reason this drew my attention is because I know how large the pharmaceutical space is growing, and Love Pharma has taken a very specific niche in it, and that's actually in the psychedelic and nutraceutical space. So they have some very interesting products that we're going to go into a little bit later, but this gives you an idea of the products that they're required to have. Now, right now, this works on the Canadian Stock Exchange, so anybody who has access to those markets, you're in a good position, because right now a product like this would probably have somewhat difficulty getting onto the New York Stock Exchange. So when you're watching this, it's actually exactly when the IPO is happening, and I'm excited, and congratulations to the management team and the owners, because it's always a great milestone to go public, and so that's why they're here, and that's why they're kind of gone so far. And I want to really just talk about some of the important financial metrics that you need to keep an eye out for, right? So we went over the general qualitative aspect of the products and the market. All right, so a lot of investors or VC firms might refer to this as the TAM, or the total addressable market, but some of these aspects are very important to understand, because then you take that feedback. And this can also, if you were looking at a U.S. company, you would be looking at what's referred to as the 10K or the annual report of it. So, that's always kind of good to back it up with. You can always take a look at it in the Canadian exchange. And I'm doing this search prior to it actually going public, so all the news might actually come up when you're actually looking at it tomorrow. But yeah, so there'll be a lot more press on it, and I'm kind of assisting them because I want to showcase where the IPO is actually occurring, and I'm seeing that this is occurring here now. So definitely important to just understand that any IPO, right, the way that it'll work, if you look at, some of the significant ones, even in the past, Uber, Facebook, Twitter, all of these big companies going public, and a Robinhood even, when they IPO, there's a very significant market comparison that you want to do. And so that's what you can kind of see here, is they're fortunately showcasing already certain stocks and certain trading symbols that you can take a look at on different exchanges to get a feel of where they're going to land. Now, it's not necessary that that they have the exact portrayal of it. So from like a personal standpoint, just knowing the companies and having done my research, I would say that Love Pharma falls way more in line with MindMed and Roe than it does Canopy Growth, because Canopy Growth is a very aggressive cannabis company, whereas Love Pharma is operating more in the nutraceutical and health and wellness space. And so they're getting the benefit there. Now, one of the key aspects of anything, this is kind of Warren Buffett's management principles and investing principles 101, is looking at the actual management team and executive team of a company, because the right executive team is really what makes all the difference. You can have the best product in the world, but if you have a bad management team, they're not going to get anywhere, and vice versa. If you have a bad product but the best management team, they can always pivot. They have the expertise and the skills and the wherewithal, the determination to take anything and pivot. Slack just got acquired for $35 billion, and a couple years ago, it was a bad video game application that then pivoted because it had the right executive team. So that's a key concept. What I usually do for any IPO, for any fundamental analysis, right? That's when you're looking at stuff outside of the technical analysis. So outside of just looking at the stock chart, if you're actually trying to do research on a certain company like this one that's about to go public and about to IPO, then you want to take a look at the financials, which is the quantitative information, and then the actual management team. So I would go in and look, and I've already done it, but that's the type of preferred or recommended research that you should do, is go on to LinkedIn, look up these people, look up their backgrounds, see what experience they have. And, fortunately, these guys do a lot of the research for you and provide the information, but that's kind of like an overall suit of where they're at. So yeah, I hope that helps. What we're going to be doing is I'm going to be following this video up with more of a technical analysis post IPO, but I just only want to draw some attention of what are some of the items you should look at. Fortunately, these guys put it nicely all together into like an investor deck, and these are things that come out pretty much every quarter for public companies as well. So you always want to take a look at the investor relations section of their website or of any public company, and you'll be able to find some sort of presentation or some sort of quarterly deck. For a new company or a company that's about to IPO, it's a little different, but generally speaking, these types of decks are already systematized and created for quarterly earnings calls for current public companies. So yeah, hope this helps. If you guys have any other questions, or if you want me to review, go more into depth with any other public companies as well, you can always leave a comment below, or feel free to reach out to us at admin, that's ADMIN, @inpennystock.com. Hope to hear from you guys soon. Take care.